Ladies and gentlemen, it is the 15th of November. This is Ploshchad Revoluция, one of the metro stations in Moscow. I'm going to discuss something that hasn't been really talked about, but is a glaring issue on any map if you actually look at it. So if you look at the territory between the breakthrough northwest of Gulay Polya and all the way up to the conglomeration of Konstantinovka, Kramatorsk, and Slavinsk. What you're going to notice is about 100 or so kilometer front. An interesting area because once Pokrovsk is settled, and it's being settled very quickly right now in the process, that opens up basically an open area for maneuver and fast advancement straight to the Dnieper, into Poltavska Oblast and into the Dnepropetrovsk Oblast. So there's a route of approach that will literally cut the what's left of left bank Ukraine, left bank from the Dnieper, in half. So food for thought. This is going to be an area of fast advancement because this is the step. There are not that many villages to begin with. There are not many defensive positions. There's no new line in that direction. So spot resistance at best, for luck. Spot resistance at best, and more likely a total collapse of that front all the way up to the Dnieper River. Not the end of the war, but a very big movement. And at which point we will all discover that it was all not strategically needed. As far as the Pokrovsk-Krasnoarmeysk collaboration, Russian forces are freed up the neighborhood or micro-district of Ror, which is to the east of Pokrovsk. Meanwhile, Russian forces are taking southern Mirograd, which is mostly two-story buildings, small houses housing neighborhoods. So they're easy to take, obviously, much easier than taking multi-story, high-story buildings. But what that means is it cuts that area in half. One more, that southern big pocket gets cut in half. And anybody trapped to the south of that in open areas and fields is done. And it also cuts any lines of retreat, so it makes it that much more difficult. What you normally do with a large encirclement is first you encircle it, and then you start chopping it into manageable pieces. You cut it in half, or you cut a third off here, a fourth off there, destroy that mini pocket, move on to the next mini pocket, instead of trying to squeeze from all around. The main thing is not to squeeze from all around in this case. The main thing is to just lock in place. And that way, the enemy can't get out. And then you just break them down to small, manageable bite chunks and chew vigorously. And that is exactly what we're seeing right now, is the Russian army is chewing vigorously. Behind me is one of the towers and a piece of the wall from the original city, Moscow. This isn't part of the Kremlin. Those walls are still up. A good chunk of these walls were taken down and replaced over time. So yes, that seems to be the aim here, is to break the Pokrovsk pocket into smaller, manageable pieces, chew up whatever's in there, move on, free up those troops, move on, chop off another piece. Anything that, of course, the Ukrainian government's in denial, screaming that none of this is happening, but of course it's happening, and it's obvious that it's happening. They're in denial every time. Oh, and looks like we can say goodbye to Gulay Polye sooner than later, because Zelensky has made another one of his green screen patronage. You know, every time he shows up in a soon-to-be besieged city, well, he never actually shows up. He's green screening it. They've gotten better at it than they were before. Before it was getting so bad. I think it was Artyomovsk, outside of Artyomovsk, where he's supposedly standing beside the sign. Wind is blowing hard. You can see the trees moving, and his hair's not moving. One of these little attention to detail points that the Ukrainians were very, very bad at, or whoever was handling their crap PR. But that's a touch of death. Anywhere that Zelensky shows up is a touch of death. Gulay Polye at this point is about 60% surrounded. They still got a pretty wide margin there, 40%. But it's being surrounded from the north. The south and direct east positions are pretty stationary. South is a no-go, basically, because Gulay Polye occupies the high ground, and attacking from the south is pretty much a suicide. But from the east seems to be working well, especially northeast, because those positions have been breached. There is no secondary lines, and it's all downhill. So we'll see as the advance continues. I think the majority of the hit is not actually going to be even on Gulay Polye at the moment. It's going to be going straight west. Now, I'm not expecting giant movements of 100 kilometers or 80 kilometer, 60 kilometer movements in depth, but I think what we're going to see is much faster advancement, as it is on the western side. We saw just yesterday another 20 square kilometers in Zaporozhye that were taken. The day before it was 45 kilometers that were taken, or 42, I'm sorry, square kilometers were taken. So we continue to see these kinds of movements. Don't know, this is just something semi-random here. Guess it's a video they're recording. But this is Moscow. There's always something happening in Moscow. And Ivan Grozny walking around. You take a photo with him. It's of course paid. You have to pay for those photos. Yeah, today we had the first snow of this winter, or upcoming winter. It's all melted off in the city, so it's just kind of raining a little bit. Just a little bit left on the roofs. Outside the city, it's still there. I mean, the roads are clear, but the snow's on the ground. So yeah, winter's coming. Like it or not, it's going to get here. It is windy. You know, the worst part about Moscow, this area, it's not so much the temperature, it's the moisture in the air. Because if it's like +3 to -3, there's so much moisture in the air. You're not cold, but your appendages have started to freeze. Just because of the cold and the moisture, condensation. So once it gets lower than that, it gets much easier to tolerate the cold. It's gone. I had to put the hat on, waiting for a friend for a talk. So anyways, while we're at it, since I got another 5 minutes to wait or more, next issue on my list of issues for this episode. So I started watching some of the NATO videos, trading videos for 2025. No, not last year's, the years before, 5 years, 10 years before. One of them was it Rapid Dart or something like that. They come up with these asinine names. They always have Rapid Dart. I call it Land Dart. Yeah, they're gonna fly that fast and land that hard and die. As you can see from these pictures, first they're practicing landing on shore. Look at this, well, rows upon rows of dinghies. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I don't know where they're planning on landing. I guess they're planning on this kind of like being we're going to liberate Crimea or some other stupid crap from some NATO asinine planner. Yeah, you're going to come at Crimea in a row of dinghies. The only thing you're going to liberate is an unharmed civilian beach. And then maybe. I mean, they learned nothing, thankfully. Thank God for that, obviously, for our side. That NATO has learned zero. And they're going to die from their lessons of zero. I mean, this is, first of all, honestly speaking, these NATO commanders should all be, I mean, if nothing tells you you're being led by ignorant morons that are inept, cannot learn, have not paid attention to anything. You watch these NATO videos, I think one video showed them with drones. Well, they were just regular drones for spying. These weren't attack drones. They do no drone defensive drills. They move around in packs, rows of dinghies. Yeah, that's about 5-6 drones, and those dinghies are gone. You're not exactly a fast-moving target. I mean, you can't exactly evade. The most things you can evade is jump into the water. And then defensive position machine guns will just take you out after that. But, or the cold in the water, for this time of year anyways. So yeah, these guys, the tanks, no grills, no camouflage netting additional to the grills. And the camouflage netting, part of what it does is actually it stops drones. No wires, cabling. That's another thing that's done often now is toss cables, add cables, mount them on the tanks, so they're kind of like porcupined out in every direction, and they do a good job of stopping drones. Things like that. So none of that. So until obviously these people learn nothing, absolutely nothing. So yeah. It's hilarious to watch. Even when they park their vehicles, they park in rows. So nice. But you know what? You fight the way you train. So at least at the very beginning, they'll be doing the same thing for real. They'll be having motor parks because they're far enough behind the lines or something like that. That kind of mentality. They'll be parked in the open because it looks nicer. It looks more orderly than parking them randomly under every tree that you can find and bushes and everything else, just to keep them out of sight. So for NATO for the last 4 years hasn't happened. This is something that's come up. It came up from the Ukrainian side when the Ukrainians were sending troops, green troops, to get trained by NATO. But a lot of these green troops already have more combat experience than anybody NATO had. NATO is a boutique military force that can barely fight, barbarians at the gates running in sandals, let alone a real army. It's hilarious to watch. Absolutely hilarious to watch these people. No, for a simple reason. I mean, seriously, these people are insane. They obviously learn nothing. They think all of this is just going to go by. I guess, I don't know. Yeah, it's hard to understand. You got a private there, you got a sergeant or a lieutenant that, they're doing what they're told. But you've got these generals and colonels that are just totally out of their friggin' mind. They have no concept of what real warfare, modern warfare is. They're still practicing. I mean, they're quite literally still practicing war before drones. Nothing's changed. They're incapable, just like they're incapable of comprehending what attrition warfare is. That's something I've noticed watching various episodes from various Western senior leaders, military leaders. They are extremely mentally rigid. They were taught how to do big maneuver warfare, and that's the only thing they know, and it's the only reference they have. Most of them never practiced it really, but they were taught that. And that's it. They cannot think outside of that box. That box has walls higher than any of them can ever jump over, mentally, psychologically, physically. And that's all they do. That's all they do. They practice, and when they look at the attrition warfare, they don't see the attrition. They just see slow movement, and that's what they judge it. Oh, it's slow movement. They can't comprehend attrition warfare at all. Which is a bad sign for the West. It's one of those signs your civilization's dying because your civilization is absolutely inflexible. And any new concept that's not even that new is absolutely beyond your comprehension, your ability to comprehend it. Oh well. By the way, almost forgot to mention, the last person on this, of all these photos, is a Bulgarian colonel. Take a look at the Russian pin on his uniform. So here's some additional food for thought. What I think we're going to see soon is the Ukrainian side, as Liman is now being invested in two directions, and it will fall soon. I think what we're going to see is the Ukrainians blow the dams on the Serebryanka east of Kharkov. So this is called the Pechenskaya Water Reserve. The interesting thing is the Serebryanka, which is the river that feeds it and goes through it, it meanders south of Kharkov, a lot of swamp areas, but meanders eventually cutting off west of Izum, and then goes through Krasny Liman. My mistake. It actually cuts through the middle of Izum and goes west of Liman, which cuts the path between Liman and Slavinsk. At least, of course, this is no end solution, but this is something that more likely the Ukrainians will do to try to slow down Russian forces as continue to advance into the and surround the last big agglomeration, Slavinsk, Kramatorsk, Kupinsk. And to try to buy time, the Ukrainians have launched a couple of counteroffensives out of Konstantinovka. I'm sorry, Kramatorsk, Konstantinovka. They've launched a couple of counteroffensives out of Konstantinovka. One of them is actually pushed into the southern portion of Chasiv Yar on a very narrow frontage. More like, and they actually got relatively deep in, about half a kilometer. For all things considered, for penetration. The southern attack, the two tanks that came in were destroyed. So these are very small level attacks, under company size. So more likely this one that got into Chasiv Yar, they'll raise the flag, make some PR photos, and die in place. Because frankly, once the attention gets focused on them, they're not making it out of there, back to Konstantinovka, across the fields. They had the element of surprise because they do asinine things like that cost them their lives, and people think that they should probably act more rationally, but they don't. But yeah, that task force, whatever, that small company level or less task force that went in south of Chasiv Yar is dead men walking. You know, if they fix themselves in there, they'll be rooted out, surrounded and rooted out. But once they blow that water reserve, the dams, they will be able to slow the Russian army down, probably for a good month. It's a very large water reserve. Of course, they will instantly cut off eastern Kharkov Oblast from themselves, that portion, because everything will be flooded out, the rivers get flooded out, and there won't be any reinforcements coming in. But I think at that point, whoever's I'm in a coffee house. So anything that's east of the city Bryanka, at that point, they're going to be written off anyways. Given the famous Zelensky stand and die order, same as Hitler's orders. Big surprise.
Does it sound?
Oh, yeah. Well, my wife. So, please don't forget to support. Please don't forget to like, spread the word, and God bless.